Along with it was a letter. I don't need a wife who's away for days, leaving chores and cleaning undone. We're getting a divorce. Apologize now if you're going to. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Laughing so hard alone in the house was embarrassingly hilarious. Despite all the running around and not picking up calls, the return address was his parents' house, making it obvious where he was. What's he really trying to do? Does he think I'd go begging to his parents' house? Especially saying, apologize now if you're going to, he must be thinking I wouldn't file for divorce. But he should have at least sent an unsigned divorce paper if he was gonna do this. Really, he's such an idiot. He used to be a boss I admired, but now, he's nothing like he used to be. His ridiculously stupid actions helped me clear my head of any doubts. So, shall I just submit this divorce paper to the city office as you wished? With that, I decided to proceed with the divorce. It was a whirlwind divorce, really. I asked my mom and a former coworker for their signatures as witnesses, and they were shocked. Aren't you going to regret this? They worried. But when I laughed off their concerns and explained everything, they both smiled relievedly and agreed, divorce is the right choice. The divorce paper was successfully filed, and 2 weeks later, shockingly on a Sunday morning, the doorbell rang insistently. Wondering what was happening, I peeked out the window to see my mother-in-law, or rather my former mother-in-law, standing there. Can't really ignore this, I thought, and reluctantly opened the door, only to find, not visible from the window, Sean standing beside her. Mindy, please do something about this boy, she pleaded. I was dumbfounded by her request. When I asked what was going on, she said, ever since he came back to our house after fighting with you, he literally does nothing. Not just doing nothing, he's really getting in the way, she complained. Hey, you've been taking care of Dad, so it's only fair you do a bit for your son too, Sean argued. You're much worse than your father. How have you survived until now? His mother retorted, overwhelming him with her anger. I had to suppress my laughter as I listened to their exchange. Before you two got married and he was still living at home, he never tried to make me do all these things. Clearly, he must have been relying on you a lot. He's so spoiled. She sighed heavily, looking annoyed at Sean, who awkwardly glanced at her and looked away. But he called me a wife who can't do any housework or cleaning, I said, laughing. That's terrible. Her face froze. Seeing him back at our house made it clear how much you've struggled. The bathroom is a mess. He leaves hair in the bathtub and doesn't care about making a mess. He's completely lost the sense of doing things himself. You were such a great wife for dealing with such a big baby. Please make up quickly and take him back, she begged desperately. I burst into laughter at her serious plea to take him back. Imagine, it's her own son and she's asking me to take him back. Well, I suppose if the husband supports the family financially, a bit of patriarchal attitude could be tolerated, but even a mother has her limits with a son acting that way. I've realized it's impossible for me, regardless of financial contributions. Look, Sean, apologize to Mindy. You must have acted like a big baby, making her angry, she said, grabbing his arm. He seemed reluctant, but apologized, sorry. Did you finally realize how much I've taken care of you? I asked. Seeing how much Mom disliked it, I've kinda got it, he admitted. Kind of, huh? I prodded. No, I mean, I really understand. I feel bad. It won't happen again. I shouted, that's what I wanted to hear, in my heart, and I almost smiled, but I kept it in. It was tough being criticized as a wife who couldn't do the housework or cleaning when I had tried so hard. Keep the patriarchal attitude in check, or even a 100-year romance can turn sour. I warned. Sorry. He genuinely apologized this time, seeming to have truly realized his mistake. His mother added, Your father grew up in the countryside with old-fashioned values, so I tolerate his patriarchal ways, but that can only be forgiven when there's real trust between a couple. Did you really listen to Mindy's feelings? She pressed him. I tried to communicate, but everything was denied, I said with a laugh. Oh, son, what have you done? She scolded him. Facing the criticism from two women, Sean looked like a chastened little boy. I'm sorry for such a son, Mindy, she apologized. Oh, no, it's fine. I'm not bothered anymore. I reassured her, and then Sean, holding my hand, pleaded, I'll change. Let's start over. It's too late now. I cut him off. What? He was stunned. What do you mean? I've already filed for divorce. You did what? I received the acceptance notice at the end of last week. Your part came to our house because you haven't changed your mailing address yet. What? You filed? Where? He stammered. Where else but the city hall? Calm down, I said. I am calm. I am. What? He exclaimed, clearly not calm and starting to panic. It seemed he hadn't expected me to actually file for divorce. You're just okay with divorcing so easily, even though we're newlyweds? He questioned. Yep, I am. After all, you negated everything about me, right down to my upbringing and personality, and then slapped the label of an incapable wife on me. Of course I consider divorce, I retorted. Sean, did you really do that? My former mother-in-law asked again in anger, and he went pale, admitting, Now that you mention it. Sighing deeply as she shook her head, she said, What are you gonna do? Sorry, but I can't keep you at our house any longer. I brought you here today so you can make up with Mindy. His face fell, and looking between me and his mother, he said, I have nowhere to go. However, both his mother and I shook our heads, showing we had no intention of taking him in. He slumped down, cradling his head. I was worried about being kicked out without having changed the house's ownership, but fortunately, it seemed he wasn't thinking that far ahead. I'm going home, his mother said, leaving him behind as she took a taxi. Well, I said, and quietly closed the front door. After a while, I could hear him sobbing, but I didn't open the door. Later on, he lived in a hotel before starting to live on his own again. He still claims to love me and has changed, asking for reconciliation numerous times, but I've been ignoring him. The house has been sold, so there's no reason for him to approach me anymore. Apparently, he's now banned from entering his parents' house. His presence has become a sort of trauma for his mother, worried he'll start mooching off them again, so it's not disownment, but a ban from visiting. Essentially, it's like being disowned though, since there's hardly any visiting. Thus, his patriarchal attitude caused him to lose 2 homes. The shock of the divorce has affected his job performance, and he's been surpassed by his juniors, leading to his current depressive state. He's too old to consider switching jobs and wants to consult me about it, but that's no longer my concern. As for me, my business is thriving more than ever. People ask if I plan to remarry, but for now, my work is my love. However, I've been getting dinner invitations from a man I do business with lately. Maybe my own romance is just around the corner. Who knows?